everyone, Val here. I am preparing some homemade quick yeast rolls for our lunch tomorrow. It's going to be homemade lasagna, homemade rolls, and homemade dessert, which is my brownies that are in the oven. And the brownies are a separate video. I'll show you that. They're out of my family cookbook. If you haven't seen those, go back and see that recipe for the brownies. The rolls, I'm getting ready to start the rolls. I'm going to be using my Pampered Chef cooking stone to cook the rolls on. This is the first time I've tried to cook rolls on the cooking stone. I've only used the stone twice. Once to make the pizzas, and that's a separate recipe too on the channel. So that's our cooking collab for March. It's Sunday the 17th? I don't know, somewhere in there. Check one of my Sunday videos. I haven't got my date straight. But anyway, I'm going to be using the Pampered Chef cooking stone to make the yeast rolls, to cook the yeast rolls on, but I'm going to make the yeast rolls from scratch. So here are the ingredients I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using a cup of hot water, which I haven't gotten the cup yet. The teapot is hot. I just made the water hot. I'm going to be using 3 tablespoons of white sugar, and I cut this back just a little bit. And 2 tablespoons of shortening, and I'm using Crisco shortening. I'm using 1 package of the yeast. This is instant yeast, fast acting. And the yeast is in the bowl here. I've already dumped the package out. I'm using 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and I've sifted the flour into this bowl so that there's no chunks in it. And then I'm using 1 teaspoon of salt. So let me move these ingredients around, get the bowl over here, and let's get started making these rolls. I'm not sure if I told you or not, but I have 1 beaten egg also that's going to go into this recipe. And I can't remember if I showed that to you or not. So we're going to go ahead and start this recipe, and it's calling for us to mix the hot water, which is 1 cup of hot water. I'm going to grab my teapot because this water is very hot. So we're going to put a cup in there and put it into the bowl. And we're going to mix that with our shortening and our sugar. So this is our sugar. And we're going to mix it, and the shortening should melt. The shortening will melt. I'm going to just chop it into smaller pieces to help it to melt. And it's saying let it cool to lukewarm. So as soon as this melts, we're just going to let it sit here, and we're going to let it cool till it's lukewarm. Maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. It shouldn't take much longer than that. But let me get this completely dissolved, and I'm going to let it sit just for a few minutes, and we'll come back and do the next step because it's got to be lukewarm. This is lukewarm now, so it's saying to stir in the yeast until it's dissolved. You want it kind of look milky. Make sure all those little crystals have dissolved in it. Trying to get the pieces off the side of the bowl. And that looks pretty good. That looks like it's dissolved. And then it said to mix in the flour, the salt, and the egg. So I'm gonna put the salt in, the egg, and then we'll do the flour last. So I can get all of this stuff incorporated into the liquid. So I'm going to do the flour in a couple of stages here. Haven't made these before, so I don't know exactly what the dough is supposed to look like. This dough is pretty sticky. So what it's saying to do once this is mixed up is to set this aside and cover it and let it rise for about 30 minutes, and it should double in size. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just leave it sitting right in the bowl and cover it. You can see how much dough there is there. So we'll see what it looks like in 30 minutes. We're going to time it for 30 minutes. And I'm going to cover it. I'm going to get a clean towel out. Let me see if I have a, there we go, a linen towel. I'm going to cover this over. I'm going to time it 30 minutes and we will be back. It's been half an hour since I let this rise, and as you can see, it did rise some. I think it's not, I don't know that it's doubled in size, but it definitely rose a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit more flour. I'm just going to sprinkle some flour on the top. And, oh yeah, punched it down a little bit here. I just want to make sure that there's no chunks in this flour. This says that this should make 8 rolls. This is really sticky, so I'm just gonna make sure I have enough flour on it. While this has been rising, I've been getting everything ready for my lasagna. I've browned my ground beef and I've cooked my noodles. So everything is pretty much ready to go for the lasagna. I just need to put it together. The brownies came out of the oven. They look really, really good. Now, I don't need to roll these out because these are just rolls. So I'm just gonna, this is really, really sticky. I'm just gonna divide this into 8 for my rolls. Just knead this up a little bit. Just a tad more flour on it. I think that's pretty good. Still has a little stickiness to it, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't think that it's supposed to be too sticky. But I'm going to go with it like that. I don't want to get it too hard because I don't want the rolls to be hard. I want them to be soft. So I'm just going to try to get this as even as I can. I'll put a little flour down here to work with my hands. And I'm going to cut this in half. Flour my knife so it doesn't stick. So this is 8. It's supposed to be 8 rolls. So I'm cut these in half again. So I got 8 pretty equal sections, I think. Alright, so I have 8 pretty equal sections. I'm going to wash my hands and I'll be right back. I have my pizza stone here. That's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on there so that they don't stick. Just kind of work it around with my hands here. And then I'm going to take each of the rolls and just kind of make them round and stick them on there. Some maybe be a little bit smaller than the others, but I think all in all they're probably going to be about the same size. If there's a smaller one, I'll eat the smaller one because I don't need to eat a whole lot of bread, but I just wanted to try to see how I could do. And Steve said that he would eat, if I made some with wheat flour, that he would try that. Like I could use like half wheat and half white or something. That one's really big. So I'm going to add this one to this one because this one's really small. So I want to get them to cook evenly, so I want them all about the same size. All right, that's 8. So what the recipe says is to let this sit another 30 minutes. These should double in size again. So I'm going to put the timer on again for 30 minutes. Put them over by the stove. While these are doubling in size and getting ready, I'm going to be working on my lasagna. So I will get back with you in about 30 minutes my time, just about a second your time. It's been a half an hour and the rolls are ready to go in the oven. I'm just going to brush a little butter on the top because I've seen people do that before, and then I'm going to put them in the 420 25-degree oven for 10 minutes. It says till they're golden brown, and a knife inserts in them and comes out clean. They do look like they've doubled in size. They look good size. Try not to squish them down when I put the butter on them. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to pop them in the oven. They're in the oven on the bottom shelf. And I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Alright, I'll show you when they come out. It's been 11 minutes. I've just pulled them out of the oven. This is how they're looking. They're cooked nicely on the bottom. So I think they're perfect. I'm going to take them off this, put them on something to cool, and then once they're cool I'm going to bag them for tomorrow to take to our friend's house. I think they turned out good. Matter of fact, I think the whole dinner turned out good. So we got our rolls, we got our homemade lasagna, we can have homemade brownies. So it's going to be a good dinner tomorrow. Steve's home.
Hi everybody.
And he's going to try one of these biscuits that I made, or not biscuits but bread, but they're more like biscuity to me. They're not like light and fluffy like a roll would be. So I'm not sure if I kneaded it too much or if that's the way the recipe is supposed to be. But Steve's going to try it. I'm going to try a piece and we'll see if it has good flavor.
No, it's very bland.
It's a roll. It's bread. I think it tastes good. Eat it with your lasagna. It tastes like
a biscuit.
Kind of like a biscuit.
It's a biscuit. It's not
Yeah.
a roll.
Anyway, it's I'm gonna try a different recipe next time. See if we can get it lighter and more fluffy. But I mean, it's not terrible. It's just not what I had in mind. I mean, it tastes fine. Alrighty. Thank you all for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and you want to. I'll catch you on the next video. And remember, it's all about the adventure. Bye now.